So, what is a cover letter and why is it important? Let's start with the first question. What is a cover letter? Well, a cover letter is exactly how it sounds. It's a letter to the recruiting team talking about your application. Basically, the two key pieces of information you want to communicate in a cover letter are why you're interested in the company and what you'll bring to the table, or why the company should be interested in you. Why is a cover letter important? Well, a cover letter in the past used to be the very first page of any applicant's application. So I think typically it's usually the first document that the recruiting team looks at. And it's important, especially if it's a required field, because when the recruiting team looks at your cover letter, you want them to be intrigued, interested, and wanting to learn more about your candidacy. I think that would really improve your odds if you can have an interesting cover letter. And how to get an interesting cover letter? Well, our cover letter template does a good job at setting you up for success at that. Basically, as I mentioned before, communicating two key pieces of information: why you're interested in the company and why the company should be interested in you. If you can address both of those and convince the recruiting team that both of those make a lot of sense, then I think you should be in good shape. But without further ado, let's dive into the cover letter template and start talking about how we should fill it out. There's a few different sections of the cover letter template that we'll divide up as we're going through filling this out. So the first one is the header. With this, you want to include the date that you're filling this out. So just the month and the year, you don't need the actual specific day. So say you're applying to a position in February of 2023, you'll replace month year with February 2023. It's important to note that you get rid of these brackets as well. You don't want a bracket on your cover letter. These are simply denoting input fields. But if you have brackets in your cover letter, it would really look visually not appealing. So you want to make sure you get rid of those for all the input fields. Then the remaining part of the header is basically general contact information about yourself: your first name and your last name, your mailing address, city, state, and zip, and then your preferred email. We recommend that this email address be the same one that's tied to your application, just to avoid any confusion. Next, you want to go to addressing the cover letter. Typically, we start our cover letters out by saying "Dear," then enter the name of the company or firm that you're applying to, followed by recruiting team. If you do know if there's a specific person or individual or a more specific team that's looking at your application, feel free to adjust this address as needed. For example, if you're applying to a position and you know it's going to be reviewed by a specific individual, then you can put their name down here. But use your best judgment. Typically, the safest option is "Dear blank recruiting team," and that's what we follow in this template. Next, you'll see three kind of body paragraphs here, and I'll cover the first one in the beginning. So this body paragraph right here is generally an extended personal statement about yourself, about 2 to 3 sentences in length. You want to thank them for considering your application, but then also include what you've done in the past that's pretty relevant to the current job that you're applying for. So in this case, is the template we use as a previous, and then you can say past internship experience or past research experience. That way you kind of show what your history is and you give them a really brief rundown of your qualifications. Feel free to also add some distinguishable skills in this sentence as well. Then lastly, you want to kind of close it off with general information about your academics, including your major, along with any minors you might have, the university you attend, as well as your GPA. In the middle body paragraph, this is where you communicate why you're interested in that company. We like to highlight two primary reasons and then provide a one-sentence description, example, or kind of reasoning on why that's important. This ends up making this paragraph about 5 to 6 sentences long, so not too long, but it's definitely the bulk of the letter because you do want to communicate why you're interested in the company. Some good suggestions for figuring out why you would be having unique reasons for why you'd be interested in the company are looking at any core values that are on their website. Also, try and look at, along with core values, what does the firm do that's particularly interesting to you? So once you find some of these two primary reasons that you're interested, for each reason, you want to add a description as to why that's important to you. Sure, it's interesting, but what about it connects it to yourself, your experiences, or what you're hoping to get out of a career? Moving on to the third and final body paragraph, you want to talk about what you would contribute to the firm. So in this case, we typically like to highlight 3 key distinguishable attributes. So these could be examples highlighting your work ethic, how you solve problems, how you work with people. Basically, you want to say what are 3 key skills or attributes or qualities that make you unique that you would bring to this company. For each of those 3 skills, you want to provide a 1 to 2 sentence, really focus more on one sentence description on how you've demonstrated that skill in the past. So, for example, if you say you're a collaborative problem solver, you want to just have an extra sentence in there talking about a situation in which you demonstrated collaborative problem solving skills in the past. Then finally, you can end with a concluding statement that says thank you for their consideration and re-emphasize the fact that you think you would be a good candidate for this position. And lastly, finish with the salutations. We typically use sincerely and then signing your first name and last name. Optional is inserting a copy of your written signature. If you want to print this out and mail something, you can definitely sign it there. But the since cover letters have kind of moved online, the signature, I think, is really optional in our opinion. Well, this is our cover letter rundown. We'll be posting more content talking about each of these subsections in a little bit more detail. So check out our socials to get more information on that. Thanks again for subscribing to Intern HQ, and we hope that this cover letter template really helps. Best of luck in your internship search. Bye.